Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Living a Full Life. I'm Dr. Enrico Dolcecore. I appreciate you tuning in this week. We are going to start a series about sleep. We've done this before. It's probably one of our first podcasts we done 2 years ago about the importance of sleep. But now we're going to into sleep in a series of what sleep is, why we should get it, how it works anatomically, what good mattresses are, what good diagnoses are for sleep issues like apnea. So I have a whole series of experts in the field. I don't know how I get a hold of these people, but they're absolutely wonderful in giving their time to be on our podcast. So make sure to tune in over the next few weeks and learn more about sleep. And I hope it just encourages and promotes better sleep for you, because if it does, it's going to add years to your life. It's going to add a lot of quality to your life. I think, many of us are slowly dying because we're just not getting enough oxygen. And I mean that in a serious way. Sleep is an endemic. It's an epidemic for most of the world. About things are changing all the time in our environment, in our stresses, in the way we adapt to everything from work to life balance and everything that's happening. We have so many things working against us, but one of the things that's working against us is we're genetically programmed to do what we need to do as humans, and we're just not doing it anymore. Over the last 100 years, we've really let go of this, and 100 years is 4 generations. So now we're going into the fourth and fifth generation of changing these things, and we're actually seeing things like changes in our anatomy. I mean, our mouths are getting smaller. Dentists and orthodontists are getting busier pulling wisdom teeth and doing braces and aligning teeth because the jaws are getting smaller. And this is seen all around the world. And one of the major reasons behind this is because of the foods that we eat. Pretty amazing things to think about is that we don't chew stuff anymore. We don't have to rip the meat off the hide anymore. We don't have to sit there and chew on the meat. We overcook things. We undercook things. We blend things. We drink them in slushies. We drink them in juices. So we don't chew like we used to. And it's really important that we continue to facilitate that in order to improve our function of our mouth. So there's many things that go behind it. So that's one theory. The other theory is like, what is the importance of actual good sleep? I mean, what does this mean? Why do we need to sleep? It's the only time in our life that we actually have a chance to heal and regenerate. So that's the overall reasoning behind it. But the bigger thing is to balance homeostasis in the body and get back to neutral function. It's all about function, structure and function. And that's what good sleep's all about. So some of the tips we're going to start with today is just simple things that you can look at in your room where you sleep and just the structure of how you're sleeping in general. And that's the best way to get started. So what is the best recipe for a good night's sleep? One is to minimize stress before we actually go to sleep. And stresses can be a lot of things. They can be chronic television exposure or screen exposure from our phones, even reading or watching stressful content. That's part of our life now. We got social media, we got the news, we got everything around us. So turning that stuff off for 60 minutes before you go to bed. That's important. If you're going to watch anything or you're going to read anything, make sure it's relaxing. Make sure it's a book you actually want to read. Make sure it's a program that's maybe funny or lighthearted. And that's one great way to bring down our sympathetic drive before we go to sleep. This was going to help through the night with our cortisol balance. So that's one. Then the actual structure of sleep. What does your room feel like? How's it set up? How much noise gets in there? How much light is in there? What's your mattress, your pillow? How do you sleep? What's comfortable for you? And how do your joints feel when you sleep? All these things play a big role in overall sleep. Let's start with our kids, and then we'll get into us broken adults in a second. But our kids, how do we set them up from the beginning of their life with good sleep? Number one, as dark room as possible for them. Yes, the monsters under the bed are a thing, but getting it as dark as you can. So having timed night lights that turn off after a certain amount, or motion night lights that when they move, it turns on. So when they wake up or get started, the light turns on. And then when they're sound asleep, it turns off. That's a great way of doing it. Making sure it's a quiet room. And that's all kids really need, is that quiet, structured system of going to sleep. Some things you can look for as a parent is just how they sleep. And this is done a lot, especially by mothers during the first few months of life with their infants, is to make sure, looking at them, how they sleep, how they breathe. And you want to continue that through the pediatric life of the child, is just make sure, how are they breathing? Are they breathing mainly through their nose? Do they have their mouth open? Is there any noises in there? Is there any obstructions? Is anything happening while they're sleeping? These are just good things to look at. And if you do notice anything, then where to go and what to do. And you can always reach out to us. We've got anyone you need to talk to for that. So those are pediatrics. What about you? Same rules apply for adults. We want dark, quiet room is the place to go for a sanctuary and sleep. And again, winding down an hour before. Light is everything. It's from the street lights, it's from the moon, it's from anything coming in through the window, it's lights in the house, from the hallway coming in. You want to try and black out the room as much as you can. So we want to try and eliminate senses to help the brain calm down, the parasympathetic nervous system calm down. So in order to do that, we need to take away as much light as possible. The next thing is sound. Zero sound, for many of us that grew up anywhere in a metropolis or urban setting, zero sound can be quite eerie. So many of us don't do really well with that. But if you grew up in a quiet place, you'll have no problem going to sleep in a quiet place. For others that have always been around the buzzing and the humming of motorcycles, cars, all the helicopters, whatever is going on at night, you may actually need that. And that can be replicated with a sound machine. They're not just for babies. They can actually be used for adults as well. Different frequencies that work for you, different sounds, could be the ocean, could be wind, could be, static, whatever it may be. Finding the frequency that works for you can actually calm your nervous system down to get to sleep, or even while you are asleep. So that's great too. But the better thing would be silence. That's probably the best way of doing that. So we got light, we got sound. Now we need to look at sensation. So comfort when we're sleeping. And this is very dynamic for everyone. Through our lives, we change a lot as well. Sometimes we're going through an injury in a joint. Sometimes we got some pain somewhere. Sometimes we're dealing with headaches. Sometimes we're dealing with stiffness. So things change over time, which may have to make you adapt as you sleep. But in the meantime, we're going to pick the regular day-to-day feeling pretty good type system. You have to figure out how you sleep. Are you a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or a stomach sleeper? Many people will mix. They'll be side and back. That's the most common one. They'll start off on their back and then flip from side to side, start off on their sides, maybe end up on their back, or just flip from side to side. For our stomach sleepers out there, I have no guidance for you because we're just not designed to sleep on our tummies. It just isn't. Whenever we think about DNA and human anatomy and structure and function, we have to go back thousands of years, not just 100. We have to go back thousands of years and see where we came from and how we functioned before. And remember, there were no mattresses. There were no pillows. There was really nothing. You would set up hide shelters, with or tree or leaves, huts, and you would sleep on the ground. That's typically how many of our ancestors slept up until about 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago. That's how they slept. So we would sleep on the ground or make, something comfy to sleep on later on in our human history. So we're designed to sleep like that. So sleeping on your stomach wouldn't make much sense, breathing in the dirt and having that go up your nose. So it's mainly side and back sleeping. Or rested up against, even seated sleeping, rested up against, the trunk of a tree. So I'm just trying to paint a picture for you. We no longer have to do that. So you have to find out which way is best for you and what works for you the most. Then we adapt the structures around us to accommodate how we sleep. So if you're a side sleeper, you typically need a thicker supportive pillow because the head has to keep its distance from the mattress the width of the shoulder. Makes sense? What this will help with a lot of people is with neck tension and arm pain, and sometimes the numbness in the arm that you get when you cut off circulation can really be helped with the thickness of the pillow. If you're mainly a back sleeper, you want a thinner pillow because then it just flexes the head too far forward. So really understanding how you sleep and facilitating everything around that will help improve your sleep. So you say, well, how do you get a thin and a thick pillow if I'm a back and a side sleeper? Well, picking and choosing which one is best for you will just slowly dictate which one you go to. So what many people fall victim to is that they have a pillow that's in between, not quite thin, not quite thick, to accommodate them moving from side to back. You'll notice an improvement if you just go down to a thinner pillow where your body will naturally sleep on your back at night because it's just more comfortable and you'll end up spending most of the night like that, or go to a thicker pillow and your body will just naturally end up on its side because it's more supportive. The reason we toss and turn a lot is because we just do not feel the support. So those are some quick tips there. The way we can affect light is to wear a blindfold at night. If we want to do that, you can wear, what are they called? Nightcaps or night blindfolds. They're called blindfolds. You wear those at night, or you can try and eliminate light from the source, either blackout curtains, using the floor towel that goes on the base of the door that can easily be opened in case of an emergency. You just pull it, it opens. But it cuts out the light. There's different things, different fabrics you can use for that as well for light, or just directly blindfold on the eyes. And another thing that we forget is our nighttime ritual, brushing our teeth, washing our face, and then going to bed or whatever it may be, is actually cleaning out our sinuses. Doing a nasal rinse right before bed every night can help clear out the passage so that we just get more oxygen as we breathe. So those are the biggest tips I have for you as we get into this series about sleep. The best thing to do is just set yourself up for success. A routine is key for your kids and for you, is having a bedtime reminder of when you want to get to bed and when you want to wake up, and just trying to get that 7-8 hour time frame to give yourself a chance. If you have to be up at 6 and you stay up till midnight, you're never going to get that 8 hours. So it's because it takes time to fall asleep. You may wake up early because of whatever. So you're just setting yourself up for failure if you don't set up proper routines. So try that. See how those tips go. Adapt to them quickly and efficiently in your room. And you may have to play a little bit to figure this out. Changing pillows is never an easy ordeal. That's the biggest questions I get as a chiropractor in my office is, what pillow is the best? Well, it really depends for you. And we go onto Amazon, we end up buying these things that look good, and one size does not fit all, unfortunately. The My Pillow guy's got something going there with the comfy, squishy pillows, but that pillow doesn't work for everyone. Same thing with these device pillows with curves in them. They're trying to facilitate everything we said today in the podcast, where sleeping on your back, you could have like a neck curve to support the neck and the head while you're sleeping. That's a great idea, but doesn't really work because everyone's necks and heads are shaped different, and it may not be comfortable for one person. And it may be comfortable for another person. There's wedges and blocks. There's things to play with, but just understanding how you sleep may save you a lot of the purchases in the meantime to try and figure out which one's going to work for you by narrowing down the best way that you sleep. So try that, see how that goes. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and stay tuned for these future podcasts about sleep. We're going to dive deeper into them. Today was just to get you thinking, maybe get your bedroom changed up and set up as we go through this, so that as you learn more, you're like, wow, I'm going to help not just myself, my entire family, my spouse, everything in there. We're going to talk about snoring, apnea, all the things that happen at night as well. And the biggest thing of the importance of sleep and what oxygen and repair and healing does for us and our longevity, and not just longevity, but quality of life as well. So a lot of great things about sleep. I think it's just one of those things that's forgotten and not talked about a lot. We just deal with poor sleep as a society and as a culture, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can take control of that. Have a great and healthy week.